I already loved him, as the Punisher in season 2 of Daredevil, but in
the graveyard scene.
Oh yeah, the graveyard. Yeah. Frank Castle.
Any piece of shit that I killed, I liked it.
Always like him when he's thrown off guard. He's to face something emotional.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty good. Hello, Reject Nation. It's Greg Alba here.
It's Andrew here.
Andrew from the Movie Source channel is here with me today, guys. Andrew and I, we're going to do a non-spoiler review of The Punisher. We're going to do a separate video that will be a spoiler review of The Punisher, the series, the one on Netflix right now. Before we go into that, I have to give a shout out to today's video sponsor, a company I'm very proud to be sponsored with right now called Stardust. Stardust is this app that allows you to do 30-second reactions for any film, TV show, or trailer. I used to always want to do 30-second movie reviews on YouTube, and now I can just do it on the Stardust app. I did one for every single episode of The Punisher. So you've probably gotten my overall opinion of it by now if you've been following us on the apps, but if you haven't, there's more stuff I'll be covering over there if you want our instant feedback right away. So download the app and follow us at The Real Rejects. I'm trying to get this guy on it too.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed and depressed. I thought we were going to be reviewing the 1989 Dolph Lundgren Punisher.
I already covered it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Easter eggs, spoilers, and everything on that one.
Damn, I really wanted to be on that one.
Yeah, that one I'm...
All right, well, we'll settle for this incredible show then.
One. On to our non-spoiler review of The Punisher. We saw the first 3 episodes together. It took me a little while to readjust to what this show was doing. I always forget that the Marvel Netflix shows move a little slower than other shows I'm used to, or the movies in general. This show really has that vibe of kind of like a No Country for Old Men or Hell or High Water, sort of this modern day Western tone and style, where it's very character driven, a lot of human drama, and then usually one brutal action scene in the middle or towards the end of each one of the episodes. Well, how I really felt overall about this show is that it's a pretty damn good show. Weirdly, even though I love the show and you love the show, I can honestly see why it actually has a rather low percentage rating on something like Rotten Tomatoes, because if you really pay attention to what everyone's saying about it, you either hate the show or you love it. And that's a good thing, because the show commits strongly to what it's about and what it's doing and how it wants to tell its story. Can't argue with that. At the end of the day, you're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, and we fall on the spectrum of we love it, and we'll go into why.
I like that tone too, that dark, gritty, Western style type of feel it had, especially from that music by Tyler Bates, which I love that theme music. Probably, if not my favorite, it's right up there with Daredevil.
Yeah, and the opening credits.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I love that. Just got you getting with the feels on that tone level with the Western grittiness. But what I appreciated about this show is there's a lot of dark undertones about the Second Amendment with gun control. There's a lot about political cover-up.
Yeah.
There's family drama in there. There's crazy, violent, very violent action sequences in here too. And I just feel like it all meshes and blends well. And there's also a lot of focus too on PTSD. And I could be totally wrong, but the last time I remember an MCU film or TV show really focusing on PTSD was Iron Man 3 with Tony Stark dealing with the ramifications of what happened in Joss Whedon's The Avengers. It just did a good mesh of blending all these different layers of different things we had going on in the show. And when we weren't in action moments or fast-paced stuff, like on the slow burn stuff and the character interactions and the family drama and Frank, filling that void of having a family, I just really appreciated those moments in the dialogue. It was just it was good enough to when we did get to action sequences, I'm just so much more invested in these characters. So I just really appreciated a lot more of those slow down moments.
Well, the action scenes have this emotional intensity to them. If there's one thing, if you don't care for the human drama, the one thing you can definitely give this show is it has the best gun action sequences out of any TV show you will have ever seen. It's the first time I've seen a show where I'm like, these gun action sequences are on par with a lot of movies. They're better than some movies.
I was thinking John Wick. Most of the time I was watching, for a TV show, this is impressive.
Because it's like military, tactical type of espionage gun action that you're using. So you will sort of think of John Wick. As a matter of fact, when I was at the gym yesterday, I was thinking, who would win in a fight, the Punisher or John Wick?
That'd be fun to watch.
It'd be fun to watch. That'd be a fun fan fiction mashup right there.
Yeah, we've already seen Batman versus the Punisher Punisher and the Accountant. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be cool now to see that match too now.
But if you're really in this because you just want to watch Punisher punish the whole time, you might not be so drawn to it because they are reintroducing him. It's even a reintroduction from what we got of him from Daredevil season 2. I thought it was just going to be a straightforward continuation of season 2 of where we last left off with him. But they kind of wrap that story up pretty early on. It kind of does it in the way John Wick 2 does it. You know, John Wick 2 opens up with like, oh, this stuff with the Russians isn't over yet. Oh, it's over now. Like in the first scene.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they do here without really spoiling it. And then it starts a whole new story. One thing I appreciate about all these Marvel shows, they all have sort of this sub-genre to them. Daredevil is the one that's a real vigilante story. Jessica Jones is the private eye noir story. Luke Cage is that like black exploitation type of story. I don't really know what Iron Fist is, but this one has... Yeah, really.
The Immortal Iron Fist.
That's what I am, Greg.
Kung
Fu story. With this one, the backdrop to it is a story of veteran soldiers dealing with PTSD and how they handle trauma and recovery. Because this story is a real personal character study of Frank Castle. Mm-hmm. And first off, if you don't like the human drama, I don't give a shit. John Bernthal blows it out of the water in this
incredible.
One. He is so good in this freaking role, man. You know what Frank Castle's performance reminds me of? I feel like he has the emotional acting chops of Robert De Niro and the grunt action heroism of Sylvester Stallone.
That's fun. Yeah,
that's
I could see that.
Because even when he talks, he does the squint. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He does that. But he does it so convincingly. It's so good. Like, John Bernthal's a beast.
Yeah. They took the best of both of those guys. What's neat about it is the story starts off with Frank Castle, and he's a loner, and he's completed his mission from everything he set out on season 2, but you can tell he's still very much haunted. Even though he's gotten his revenge, he hasn't healed, he hasn't truly grown. He still hasn't come to terms with his loss. At first, the show starts off on this path of, are we just repeating territory, kind of like how Spider-Man 3 does? Someone else killed Uncle Ben. This one, I thought it was kind of doing that, but it becomes also the CIA thriller at the same time. There's multiple storylines going on in this show. You got Frank Castle's story of really trying to find out what's really went on behind his family's killing and, you know, get his revenge there. And then you have the story of Micro, his partner, how would you use
David Lieberman.
What's the adjective you would use to that?
I would say the guy in the chair.
He's the guy. Yeah, you got the Micro.
The guy in the chair.
Micro's the guy in the chair.
And obviously his whole life has been stripped away because of what he found out, you know, what was going on in Frank's missions on Kandahar, I believe it was called. Obviously now his life has been totally stripped away. And then you got Madani?
You got Agent Madani, whose story, honestly, I thought was super freaking boring. I didn't think it got interesting until maybe like the 5th or 6th episode out of a 13 season.
Wait, you were not interested when she was...
My God, she was boring.
I was gonna say, kind of spoilers, when she was being banged by a character.
I mean, that was
interesting.
That was an interesting scene, but other than that,
it's like a softcore porn.
I was like I thought there was too much focus, and I really felt like they were trying to emphasize like a lot of psychoanalysis and exposition to this character I could care less about in the first like 6 episodes of this season, and I felt like they were trying to get me to care about her when I just wasn't. I felt like we didn't need to spend as much time with her in the first 6 episodes.
I was just gonna say, I totally get what you're saying. I think what I appreciated about what they were going for with her character was showing her that she is, you know, someone obviously who has lost someone close to her, kind of like Frank, and she wants to seek out justice too, and she wants to find the right path, but she's doing it in such a corrupt setting that it's making it very difficult, and like it just adds more tension. Like this woman has to go through so many obstacles, you know. So I think I appreciated that more, you know, for the character. But I get why you felt like bored towards the character. Maybe, you know, she wasn't given the best performance. I don't know.
I cared more about the plot elements. I didn't care about the human characterization, drama elements of her that they kept throwing in my face. So she's only one part of the story that I didn't care for until halfway through the show. And then you also got this one character who I wasn't sure the entire time. We'll talk about in the spoiler. It's a character named Lewis, who is this young soldier struggling with terrible PTSD from coming back from Afghanistan. You really spend a lot of time with this guy, and at the first half of the show, I'm like, where's this going with it? Like, I like what they're doing with him. This actor is great, but is this really going to tie in? And it does. One thing you got to be patient with this show.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things that they keep cutting back to. You're kind of wondering, is this going to tie in? Is this really going to matter in the long run? And it all eventually does. You also got the story of Curtis, who is an old friend of Frank. He knows Frank's alive. alive. He has these like group therapy sessions, these
PTSD group therapy.
PTSD with
he
with
took
other
over
veterans.
for Captain Falcon.
Yeah, essentially. They also have the character of Billy Russo, who I forgot who Billy Russo eventually becomes.
Prince Caspian, right?
Prince Caspian is who he becomes. I forgot who he eventually becomes, and then I looked up the actor on IMDb after I watched the 3rd episode, and IMDb credits the name of who he becomes, and I was like, I guess it's not a spoiler, but it kind of is.
They figured you've already watched all the episodes if you're looking at IMDb, I guess.
So I knew who he was going to become the whole time, and so if you forgot who Billy Russo is, don't look him up because it'll ruin pretty much the last couple episodes of The Punisher for you. But he's great, and he's a sexy guy.
Yeah, he's not a bad looking dude.
I watched every episode of My Girlfriend, and every time he came on
Why
screen,
don't you
My
look
Girlfriend,
like him, dude?
Yeah, I got so self-conscious. Last time I made love with my woman, I had to imagine I was him.
Interesting feeling. Yeah, but anyway,
I perform better.
Hey, whatever makes you do better, buddy.
But his character is really good, and you don't get a definitive villain up front. You know, you have to wait a while to find out who's the real villain of this show. But overall, this show, it's a slow burn show. It really takes its time. Sometimes it borderline. I felt like in the first 5 episodes, it kind of goes borderline Walking Dead territory. You're really stretching things out because you have 13 episodes. Even though I finished this show going, I loved it, I still feel like it could have been condensed to 10 or 11 episodes. I don't feel like they needed 13 episodes, especially in the first few episodes. You're like, this could have moved a little bit quicker. And also, there's a story with Micro's family. I really like that stuff. Which is really good because Micro, he's hiding out. He has to stay hidden from his family who thinks he's dead. And so Frank Castle ends up watching after them. So this story is a long tale of grief. What PTSD from coming back from a war can do to you. And it's this weird story of vengeance, love, recovery, family. It's a cool introduction into a different type of origin tale for the Punisher. If you think you got the origin tale of the Punisher in Daredevil Season 2, it's not. This is a reinvention, and this is a new type of origin tale. Remember this? One of the early teaser trailers, they show the shot of Frank all, bloodied up, and he's dirty, and he's wearing the Punisher shirt. Up? Frank has to heal. If there's any Marvel character has to heal a lot, it's this guy.
He's got some Wolverine blood in him.
Yeah, man, that guy cannot get taken down. He's bloodied up and dirty, and then he has the Punisher shirt on. That scene comes in pretty late into the season, but when it comes in, it really dawned on me why they used that moment as a teaser trailer, because you're like, oh, this is the Punisher being reborn right here. You're essentially watching the introduction of how he got the nickname of the Punisher in Season 2, and this right here is the definitive vigilante we're going to come to know and probably follow for another season. This was a gripping show. It takes its time. It's paced slow. It all pays off, especially by the end of the show. And the violence is brutal at times. It's haunting. It's probably Marvel's darkest show they've had. Yeah. Because it's a human show. Yeah. There's no super element in it at all.
Jessica Jones is pretty dark too, but this is right up.
But there's always the thing of the super ability elements that could kind of take down some of the darkness a little bit because it still feels very fictional. This feels very real. Other than the fact that Frank survives the impossible a lot, it still feels very real.
And just really quick, my final thoughts too, just adding to your point, I think what I really appreciate about this show that I didn't feel so much in Defenders, I really felt the stakes, and especially during the end, and I mean whenever they were in moments of panic or threat, but I also felt the threat level too. Like, even though I know the show is 13 episodes, there were moments where I really was fearing for Frank's life or whoever he was trying to protect on screen. So I thought they did a good job of, like, again, just getting that fear level up and really making you feel the stakes of the calamity of the situation, or getting you scared for the character, so that when they do the impossible, it's well earned, kind of like Bruce Willis in Die Hard.
There's a lot of themes in this show. Grief, choices, politics. There's a whole lot going on.
Political cover-up.
And one thing I'll say too is that you got to watch it all the way through the end, because there's stuff that you might not find so intriguing in the first half. By the last half of this show, all that stuff that I initially wasn't too invested in becomes very much of a strong emotional investment by the end of the show.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this show I'd give it like a 9 out of 10.
I'd give it probably around an 8.8 or a 9, somewhere around there. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'll give it an 8.9.
Yeah.
8.9 out of 10. You piece of shit.
shit. 8.9. You're a 9 out of 10.
All right, guys. Well, what did you think of The Punisher? Did you love this show? Did you hate it?
Did you feel punished by it?
Did you feel punished by it? You can subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. You can download the Stardust app and follow us at The Real Rejects. Post plenty on there, and really do love being a part of that community. And also become a Patreon eject today. Most importantly, though, clearly this guy knows his information. Make sure to subscribe to the Movie Source channel on YouTube. Andrew Gordon, one of my great friends, Andrew. He does a lot of great videos on there. One of them that's coming up right now is an Easter eggs and references video all about the Punisher. So make sure to subscribe to him right now so you can be notified when that video is up. Take care, America.